Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started, I think, at 1:05. So just a few seconds.
All right.
All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. So it's 1:05. So hi, everyone. Welcome to today's workshop on how to become a CNAS Scholars Peer. My name is Michael. I'm one of the CNAS Scholars Peer Mentors.
My name is Saba. I'm a CNAS Scholar Peer Mentor, and I also used to be a peer advisor.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation for today.
All right. So just to begin, we want to hold a little icebreaker. So either you guys can unmute yourselves or use the chat, but I want to ask you guys, how many of you have participated as a mentee in your first year in college? We'll go ahead, George.
Oh, I raised my hand because I participated.
My bad. Okay.
Oh,
Well, I just wanted to ask, which program
quickly,
might it be?
Pablo, I just wanted to quickly mention, so if anyone has any questions, just hold them off to the end of the presentation.
Right. Also that is important. But we wanted to ask you, which program did you join? Why did you join a peer program as a mentee? And what do you hope to gain as a peer? So this can be a program such as HPAC or even like the Well, CARE, any sort of resource on campus. Would anyone like to share? All right, that's okay. Oh, here we go. Ooh, so George says, I had a CNAS Scholar Peer Mentor. Yes, so CNAS Scholars Peer Mentor is a very big program. We do hold a lot of, students in our outreach area and whatnot. So yes, that is a very great program. You're in the right place. All right. Well, there are many, many reasons to, be a peer mentee or be a peer, right? And going through this presentation, we'll maybe talk a little bit more about that as well. Next slide.
So this is the breakdown of the CNAS Undergraduate Academic Advising Center. As you can see, under that Undergraduate Academic Advising Center, we have CNAS Scholars. And the first research program that we see is the RISE program. So if you're not familiar with what the RISE program is, it's a first year program. Usually it takes place in the summer where you can conduct research and earn a stipend. So it's a really cool program. And if you're interested, I believe applications should be coming out pretty soon. Right below it is Persist. So Persist, it was a second year research program. Right now it's not really currently active, but maybe in the future it may receive more funding. In addition to that, we see a huge breakdown right here, the learning community. So the learning community is where a lot of you all are in, right, as first year students. So under that category, we have peer mentees. So maybe a lot of you are peer mentees. And then we're mainly going to be touching on the different positions of the peer mentors, peer academic leaders, and peer advisors during this whole presentation. Yeah, and I see someone else just shared, a little more information about them, so that's great. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide.
Ooh, I haven't heard about the HESA program in quite a while, so thank you for sharing, from team. I hope I'm saying that right. All right, so let's go over a general overview of just what CNAS Scholar peer positions are. So there's three main positions. There's peer mentors, there's peer academic leaders, and there's peer advisors. So peer mentors, there's about 8 paid positions depending on, availability, funding, and whatnot. And the peer mentor position is a year-long position, and it includes working for, not working for, facilitating NEC 93 classes in fall quarter. It also includes hosting quarterly meetings with around 25 to 30 mentees. Peer mentors also present workshops, and we also are involved in tabling. So we answer questions outside of the CNAS Undergraduate Academic Advising Center. Peer academic leaders, there are only 4 paid positions for this position. And peer academic leaders is a fall quarter only position, and they are mainly involved with creating lesson plans and facilitating NAC 93 classes in fall quarter as well. Peer advisors are 8 volunteer positions, and peer advisors are a year-long position. Peer advisors also facilitate in, I guess, assisting NAC 93, which is, again, a class that is taught in fall. And peer advisors are also mainly known for their drop-in peer advising that they host every week. We'll go more into detail with what especially the NAC 93 class is and everything else that has been mentioned here. Next slide.
Yeah, so Saba just kind of went over some general information. So now we're going to provide some more information about each individual position. So starting off, we have the CNAS Scholars Peer Mentor. So personally, I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, I am a CNAS Scholars Peer Mentor. I have been in this position for 2 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the ins and outs of it. So I'll give a little bit of my experience as well. So as Saba mentioned earlier, CNAS Scholars Peer Mentors teach 2 NAC 93 courses during the fall quarter with an academic advisor or coordinator. So if you're not familiar with NAC 93, that's a course where you get to learn a lot about different resources and different topics that really help you grow as an undergraduate student at UCR. There are also weekly peer mentor meetings that you'll be having. So making sure that you're on top of any sort of events or things that you can give out to your mentees, as well as just any sort of updates with the CNAS Undergraduate Academic Advising Center. So in addition to that, the main role as a peer mentor is having a caseload of 20 to 30 mentees to meet with twice a quarter. Usually the first half is from weeks 1 to 5. And then you have another meeting during weeks 6 to 10 when most students have already taken a midterm and you can go over material like that. In addition to that, you'll be participating in CNAS Scholars trainings. So we'll be touching more into the trainings later on in this presentation. And the last thing as a peer mentor is that you'll be participating in events as needed, such as workshops, as like the one we're currently in right now, Highlander Day, tabling if we go back to in-person instruction or we're on campus, there'll be lots of tabling opportunities and Highlander orientation that takes place during the summer. Now moving on to the peer academic leader. This position is mainly, I would say it's really good for someone who is interested in teaching. So if you're really, you want to pursue maybe a career in teaching or education, this is a really good position for you. So peer academic leaders also teach in 2 NAC 93 courses, but the major difference is that this is a fall quarter position and you'll be working with a fellow CNAS Scholars peer academic leader as well. So that's a big difference. You'll also be attending weekly NAC 93 peer academic leader meetings to go over information about the course. And the last thing is really to develop the lesson plans for NAC 93. So this gives you an opportunity to engage with students throughout the fall quarter and help guide them throughout their journey as first year students at UCR. And lastly, we have the peer advisors. So the peer advisors also teach 2 NAC 93 courses during the fall quarter with the academic advisor and coordinator. And they also have their own set of weekly peer advisor meetings, and they assist with drop-in peer advising sessions. They're kind of like office hours in a way for students who need help or they want support throughout any academic quarter. And really the last thing at the very bottom that kind of goes with all the positions is participating in all of the trainings during spring and fall. So that's a big one. So you'll have a pretty big time commitment with those trainings and you'll be learning a lot about these positions. And another thing is that as a CNAS Scholars peer, you will be promoting diversity and following university policies and procedures. So in this position, you will be, representing the university. So it's really important that you are following all these different, qualities that a CNAS Scholars peer would follow. And lastly, we have notifying the CNAS Scholars coordinators of any student concerns. So you will be having a supervisor in any of these positions, and you will be letting them know if there are any sort of health, behavior, emotional concerns that you have with any individual student that you meet up with, whether it be in your NAC 93 courses or during any sort of mentor meetings as well.
All right, so now that we've gone over a general overview of all of the three positions, what are the benefits, right, for these three positions? So overall, if you are in any of these positions, all three of these positions help you develop leadership skills, and they help you develop a lot of public speaking skills, both in workshops and when you teach those NASC 93 classes. I personally can attest to this. I definitely have learned a lot about especially leadership skills and public speaking. Having these positions as a peer mentor and previously as a peer advisor have helped me out a lot. In addition, you also assist in guiding first-year students through their transition to college in all three of these positions. Also being in all three of these positions helps you with furthering your professional development, furthering their professional development, whichever student that you talk to, and you end up serving as a role model for first-year students especially. Being part of the CNAS Scholars Program in general also means that you get to build relationships with your fellow peers, and you can also provide peer support and resources to first-year students. All right, now let's talk about more of the specifics of each of these positions. So being a peer mentor consists of assisting advisors in tabling events, and it also is, again, an opportunity to build relationships with fellow peers and mentors. We've mentioned this before as well, but you get to collaborate a lot with CNAS staff in facilitating NASC 93 classes in fall. Typically, peer mentors are paired up with an advisor or, yes, someone who is a faculty mentor. And you get to teach a class with whoever you're partnered up with. So of course, in addition, you can also get to work in partnership with peers to present workshops, as me and Michael are actually doing right now. And the CNAS Scholars Peer Mentor position is a paid position from fall 2022 to spring 2023, so for this upcoming year. And the pay is $15.99 per hour. All right, now moving on to peer academic leaders. So peer academic leaders mainly learn skills in lesson planning and create around 10 lesson plans tailored to the NAC 93 students. I think that peer academic leaders is a position that is highly recommended if you want to get into teaching and have a really strong interest in, lesson planning, because that's a large majority of the position. Peer academic leaders mainly create activities, homework, and portfolio assignments for those NASC 93 classes. And of course, they receive professional development directly from CNAS staff. Peer academic leaders also get to refer students to campus partners, be that kind of role model when they're teaching the class. And this position is a paid position, but only for fall quarter. And the pay is $16.99 per hour. All right, and moving on to peer advisors. So peer advisors learn a lot about how to troubleshoot student inquiries and offer campus referrals. Peer advisors also get to build relationships, of course, with their fellow peers and students. And this is a volunteer position for the whole year. So from fall quarter to spring quarter. And this position is highly recommended, especially to sophomores who are interested in entering the CNAS Scholars Program as a whole. And one great tidbit is that after successful completion of the PA, whole year program, you receive priority consideration when applying for a paid position for the following year, whether that be applying as a peer mentor or a peer academic leader. So this is the route that I took. I was a peer advisor last year, and then I applied again and I became a peer mentor this year. All right, next slide.
So now we're going to be touching a little bit more on the recruitment criteria for each individual position. So for all the different CNAS Scholars peer positions, you must have completed a full year in the CNAS Scholars Learning Community. So all of you who are attending this workshop will most likely complete the full year in the CNAS Scholars Learning Community, which is great. And you also want to show that you can demonstrate the ability as a team player, involvement in both on and off campus activities. So in this role, you'll be, working with a lot of different students, and you'll be working with your coworkers as well. So it's really important that you show teamwork and you can show leadership, through maybe research, service, or any other employment that you may have had in the past. And you also want to show strong interpersonal and communication skills. So this is something that's really key, to be a CNAS Scholars Peer. But at the same time, being in the position, I can attest to this. After 2 years, you really do gain a lot of strong interpersonal and communication skills from being a CNAS Scholars Peer, because you are doing a lot of things in your role. You also want to have the ability to multitask while being self-motivated. As a college student, you have to juggle a lot of things like your extracurriculars. Maybe you want to work on campus part-time. You have to work on your classwork. So just really being able to multitask and work through having a schedule and time managing is really something that we look for as a CNAS Scholars Peer. And lastly, you want to make sure that you're a sophomore, junior, or senior in this should be fall 2022. So a lot of you are first year students, so this shouldn't be any trouble for all of y'all who are here. And focusing specifically on the peer mentor position, you want to make sure you have a minimum cumulative GPA of a 3.0, and you are able to work a minimum of 4 to 8 hours per week each academic quarter. And for the peer academic leaders, you want to make sure you have a minimum cumulative GPA of a 3.2, so a little bit different than a peer mentor, and that you're able to work a minimum of 4 to 5 hours per week during the fall quarter. So remember, you'll mainly be working on NAC 93 courses throughout the fall quarter. And if you have any previous teaching or public speaking experience, that's really great, because you're going to be with students throughout the fall quarter. And lastly, we have the peer advisor position. So that position has a minimum cumulative GPA of a 3.0, and you want to be able to work a minimum of 3 to 4 hours per week each academic quarter. And like Saba mentioned, it is ideal for sophomores who want to, demonstrate their ability to work with students, and then, move on to maybe becoming a peer mentor or even a peer academic leader during their junior or senior year at UCR. And some preferred qualities is that you have some prior experience in a peer mentoring program as a mentor mentee. So a few of you have mentioned you have been peer mentees in the CNAS Scholars Peer Mentor Program. So that's really great. And you get to kind of get a glimpse of what it's like to be a peer mentor and see how they would work with students. And another preferred quality is showing demonstrated public speaking skills. So that could be as maybe, let's say, an SI leader, or just showing that you are able to present yourself in a club or anything like that. So like a debate club, you can potentially be a CNAS Scholars ambassador, or even a workshop presenter, like what we're doing right now just really demonstrates public speaking overall.
All right, so now let's get into the average workload that comes with each position. So first and foremost, CNAS Scholars Peer Mentor, right? So in fall quarter, usually the workload is around 6 to 8 hours per week. And in winter and spring quarter, that goes down to 4 and 6 hours per week. So in fall quarter, the general responsibilities that CNAS Scholars Peer Mentors have is to attend a weekly meeting, which is around 1 hour every week. And we also have workshop presentations that we do about every week, every 2 weeks, whenever they come up. So this takes about 0 to 1 hour per week. Tabling in the CNAS Undergraduate Academic Advising Center lobby can go up to 5 hours or 0 hours, depending on how much you sign up for as a peer mentor. And of course, meeting with mentees takes around 30 to 60 minutes, and paperwork and prep takes around 30 minutes. And then we also have additional CNAS projects that are sometimes given to us, which takes around 30 minutes to an hour per week. In addition to all of that, in fall quarter, we also have the NAC 93 classes that we help facilitate, right? So in fall quarter, peer mentors are responsible for attending NAC 93 meetings with their advisor just to prep for the class, which is around 30 minutes. And of course, you have to attend to NASC 93 classes that you're teaching or helping to teach, which is around 2 hours per week. And then prepping for NAC 93 also takes around 30 minutes to an hour. Now, going into winter and spring quarter, NAC 93 is a fall quarter only class. So all of those responsibilities are not present in winter and spring quarter, right? So the same responsibilities still hold though for peer mentors, where we have to attend weekly meetings. We have workshop presentations that we present, we table in the undergraduate academic advising center lobby, typically when we're in person at least. Meetings with mentees take around 1 to 1.5 hours per week. Paperwork and prep also takes around 30 minutes. And then we also still have those CNAS projects sometimes that we get assigned. So 30 minutes to 60 minutes. These CNAS projects include stuff like managing the Instagram or managing the website, so on and so forth. Next slide.
So now we'll be talking specifically about the workload for a CNAS Scholars Peer Academic Leader. So their workload is mainly focused on the fall quarter, right? Not for winter and spring. And in fall quarter, you'll be attending weekly peer academic leader meetings for 30 minutes. So we mentioned that earlier. You'll be facilitating 2 NAC 93 classes, so that's 2 hours. So for NAC 93 courses, you'll be focusing on the discussion section, and that will be happening once a week. So that's how we get to 2 hours per week. Next, you'll also have an hour to prep for NAC 93 as well. So being prepared and having activities to work with the discussion section is really important as well. And you'll meet weekly with an NAC 93 grader. So there will be some assignments that will be needed that will be made throughout NAC 93 in order to have grading as a satisfactory non-complete course in the fall quarter with the grader. And lastly, you'll have time for paperwork and prep, so 30 minutes, just like any other position that we mentioned earlier.
All right. Now let's go over the average workload for a CNAS Scholars Peer Advisor. So reminder, peer advisor is the volunteer position that we have in fall quarter. Typically peer advisors work around 4+ hours per week, and then winter and spring, that just goes down to 3 to 4 hours per week. So in fall quarter, peer advisors are responsible for attending NAC 93 meetings. So, basically a prep meeting with their faculty advisor that they're teaching with. That takes around 30 minutes per week. Facilitating 2 NAC 93 classes, that takes around 2 hours. Prepping for NAC 93, which takes around 30 minutes to 1 hour. And then weekly PA meetings with LC coordinators, that takes around 30 minutes per week. Peer advisors are also responsible for hosting drop-in advising hours with CNAS students, typically from 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And of course, there's one last thing. Peer advisors also manage the CNAS PA email. They have a specific email that students can send inquiries to, and that takes around 30 minutes per week. Now, the time goes down in winter and spring quarters to 3 and 4 weeks because, again, NAC 93 is a fall quarter only class. So all the other responsibilities still hold, again, for peer advisors. So again, that includes the weekly PA meetings with LC coordinators. And then this also includes assisting with presenting workshops and events with the CNAS Scholar peer mentors. That may take around 1 hour or 0 hours per week. Drop-in advising hours still are available in winter and spring, so that takes around 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And then managing the CNAS PA email takes around 30 minutes. Next slide.
So I mentioned earlier about some expectations of everyone here who, is going to be a CNAS Scholars Peer in the future. So here we have a list of professional expectations that we have for y'all specifically. So first we'll be covering confidentiality. So this is something that's really important because as, let's say, a CNAS Scholars Peer mentor, you will be having information about a certain mentee. So this should not be shared with any friends or relatives. So that's really important. Another important expectation is inclusivity and appropriate communication. So as you are upholding university policies, you want to make sure you maintain a welcoming and inclusive environment for anyone that you approach, whether you are talking to a student, you're talking to staff, or anyone on campus. Next, we have campus referrals. So you should be able to act as a resource for your mentees, and that will really be, you'll be able to do that after your training. So make sure you ask questions, you take good notes, and you understand where to refer students is really something key. You also want to make sure you're reliable. So making sure you're taking attendance, especially if you are a peer mentor, that you're taking attendance of your mentee. And lastly, we have attire. So making sure this is something that's really important, especially if you're in person, making sure you're not wearing clothes that are distracting, derogatory, or too revealing. So, a good rule of thumb is if you can wear your polo, that's really good. Otherwise, just maybe wear something professional, professional clothing that like the art closet can be a really good resource if you don't have any professional attire. So just making sure you're upholding these professional expectations is something that is really important in these positions.
All right. So let's go into the spring 2022 commitment. So to be hired for the 2022 to 2023 year, all peers must attend mandatory training. So that is around 1 hour per week of general training and then 1 hour per week of NAC 93 training. And of course, another thing to note is that a minimum GPA of 3.0 or 3.2 for PALS must be maintained in spring 2022 to continue into the next academic year in order to be a CNAS peer. Next slide.
So now we'll be talking a little bit about the mandatory fall training. So if you are accepted as a CNAS Scholars Peer, you will be having fall training in the next academic school year. So for CNAS Scholars Peer mentors, advisors, and academic leaders, you will have a 1 day, 8.5 hour training. You can plan for that. That's usually, a lot of these trainings occur before fall quarter begins. So usually like a week before, 2 weeks before you have these trainings. And for peer advisors, you will be having a 1 day, 2 hour training. For CNAS Scholars Peer Mentor specifically, you'll be having a 1 day, 8.5 hour training. And lastly, for the peer academic leaders only, you will be having 2 days of 3 hour trainings. And note, for all these trainings, you will be getting training material that will be provided during September when these trainings will occur.
All right, so suppose you applied, now what? So applications and resumes will be available and due through online submissions sent through that Google form. I'll link it in a bit. I'll put it in the chat in a few seconds. And interviews will include a 4 to 5 minute presentation on a study skills topic. Callbacks and job offers and potential second rounds of interviews happen close to the end of winter quarter, and weekly training, once you do get accepted into the CNAS Peer program, begins week 1 of spring quarter. Those dates and times are to be decided. Also, just a quick reminder that submitting an application does not guarantee getting an interview. Next slide.
So this is the end of our presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
We did get one question in the chat that I would like to address now. So someone asked, if we're going to be a 4th year in 2022 to 2023, can we apply to the peer academic leader position? Yes. So the peer academic leader position is a fall quarter position only. And all 3 of these positions, so the peer mentor program, the peer academic leader program, and the peer advisor program, is open for application for all incoming sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So yes, you can definitely apply, and I encourage you to. Someone asked, will we get a copy of these slides? Yes, I think they should be sent out in an email, but just in case, I will, send them out to you personally. Yes, go ahead, Jesse.
Hi, so I was wondering, for the UCR faculty referrals, are they required to be professors, or could it be any faculty?
I think professors are definitely great. I don't know. I don't think it's required to have professors. Michael, what do you think?
If you can get a professor, great. I would double check with CNAS scholars at ucr.edu. If you can shoot them an email, they can help guide you to figure out what faculty they're expecting in the application.
Mhm.
Right. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? If not, feel free to always send any questions to the CNAS scholars at ucr.edu email. That should be the same email that you got the Zoom link for this presentation, right? And of course, me and Michael are always available to answer any questions. But yeah, thank you so much for attending.
I guess one quick note I'll mention too about the person who wanted to be a peer academic leader. So if you want to apply for all the positions, you can do so. If you just want to apply for one, you can also choose to only apply for one as well. So you have that flexibility when it comes to applying.
Yes, that should be on the, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to link the form again, just in case. But yeah, you can actually apply for all 3 positions. And if you do apply for all 3 positions, you will get interviewed for all 3 positions as well. Ooh, hold on. Here we go. But yeah, it's a really great opportunity and I highly, highly recommend at least, trying out for this program. If there are no other questions, then again, thank you for attending. And of course, you're free to go whenever you would like.
Yeah, thank you for attending our workshop. I hope everyone learned something from this workshop in the application process. And if you do have any other questions at any point, definitely feel free to email cnasscholars@ucr.edu.
Excuse me, I have a quick question. It's not about the CNAS Scholar Program, your mentor program, but if I want to ask question about the RISE program, do you know who should I email to?
The RISE program is also coordinated by the LC coordinators. So that's actually going to be the same email that you would ask, the CNAS scholars at ucr.edu email. I can type it out as well if you need to, but yeah.
Yes, please.
Do you have like a specific question that we can maybe
Yeah,
help you out?
I like joined the research lab during my freshman year, but
Mhm.
I basically the lab I joined, it was like I had to be present in the lab, and because of COVID, UCR was closed. So I attended a RISE workshop, but I couldn't basically like join the program because of the issue I had. So I wonder if I can join like do the RISE program during my senior year or this upcoming summer.
So the RISE program is only available for freshmen and sophomore. What year are you right now?
I'm third year right now.
Okay, yeah. So unfortunately, I don't think you can apply because it is a program mainly focused for sophomores and freshmen.
I see. All right.
Unfortunate, right?
Thank you.
There are other research programs out there though. I highly recommend you, do your
Yeah.
little research, scour the internet a bit.
I see. Thank you so much.